Hello guys, this is Mrs. Marple again. Welcome back. So this week we've been doing drawing basically. So today what we're going to talk about is mandalas. Now mandalas, they are a drawing that is using a series of circles. Now this is my example right here. Now it's very complicated, but they can be super simple too. So let me show you an example of a simple one. And what this lesson is going to be going over is something called radial balance or radial symmetry. Symmetry means the same, and balance, same on both sides. Everything wants to be balanced. And so I'm going to show you how to make a really easy mandala and how to make a more complicated mandala. Now, yours does not have to be anywhere near as complicated as Mrs. Marple's. I just enjoy it, and so I had fun. This is another great activity if you're an adult, or maybe you've got teenagers in the house, or college students. This is really going to be fun for all ages. So what you're going to need is pencil, paper. Okay, I got my paper. I got my pencils. I've got some pens and a Sharpie, a ruler. I'm going to need some circles to trace, or I'm going to attach a few templates for those of you who don't have circle tracers at home. So you could print these out. But what I'm going to use today is I'm going to use some round things from around the house, some circle shapes that I can use. So these are all lids from different things, and then this is just like a dressing cup from a to-go container, I think. So using recyclable materials for this, it's great. So what we're going to do is everybody is going to start by drawing circles. And circles are a hard thing to draw by yourself. Freehand circles are not easy, and so I am going to recommend that everyone find something to trace, or if you have a compass, you're welcome to use that. Not a whole lot of people have compasses at home, but some of us do. And what I want you to do is I want you to work with your largest circle first. When you pick out your circle tracers, you want to make sure that you pick out your largest circle and make sure that it fits on the paper. Now you can see here I've got this kind of tab here. I'm going to be careful to skip that piece. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my pencil and draw all the way around my shape. And I'm going to stop when it starts to get to that unusual little bump right there. And I'm going to turn my tracer around and make it work. Okay. Now this is a project that you definitely need to do in pencil first, because we're wanting it to look the same all the way around, and we want these circles to be nice and smooth. So if you make little mistakes, please take the time to go back and erase them and just do your best. So once you have your largest circle, you're going to go with your second largest. And depending on how complicated you want your mandala to be, the more circles you would be tracing. Now, since I am making a circle inside of another circle, there's a special name for this. And these are called concentric, meaning one inside of another. Okay, and you want it to be as equal as possible. Now, over here is a little bit thicker than over here, and that's okay. But if it was way over here, that would be a problem. You want to try to center it as best you can. Think of it as a piece or a whole pizza, and you would want to have everybody to have the equal amount of crust and the equal amount of pizza. So you wouldn't want one person getting tons and tons of crust and one person getting lots of pizza but no crust. You want everyone to have equal pieces. So I've got 2 of my circles so far. I've got 2 more to go. So I'm going to draw my smaller. Try to center it as best as I can. Remembering when you trace, you hold down with your non-dominant hand, and then you do the drawing with the hand that you always write with. Okay, and you can always rotate your paper if it makes it easier for you, or simply move your hand around and then move it again. So here we go, 3 and 4. So I'm going to make this one pretty simple. This one's my basic one, and then I will show you how to do a more complicated one. Like I said, the more circles you add, the more complicated. Okay. So I have my rings, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got some on my paper. And so now what I'm ready to do is I'm ready to draw with my ruler. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing some straight lines to divide this into pieces like it were a pie or a pizza. And so the first way we're going to start is we are going to use our ruler horizontal, and we want to try to find the center. So what I want you to do is use your pencil and draw a little belly button. That's what we call it when we try to find the middle. You can measure. No, it looks a little bit off a little bit. Just do the best that you can. You do not necessarily need a ruler for this. I like a ruler just to make these lines nice and straight, and they can extend beyond your circles, your concentric circles, and you go all the way across. So that's my horizontal and then my vertical. And so this would be another good way to use math into your art, dividing wholes into halves and quarters and beyond that. With my simpler versions, you could stop right here if you wanted to, or you could add a couple more pieces. I think I'm going to stop here for my younger friends, and then if you are wanting to do a more advanced version, I will show that as soon as I finish this one up. So I've got all of my pieces. They look pretty equal, right? We don't have one super skinny piece. We don't want to have one big, huge piece. Everyone has equal pieces of pie. And so what we want to do is we want to decorate these quarters of a circle the same, so that if we were going to cut this up later and give one to each of our friends, they would each have the same on each piece, making it balanced, making it radial. So what we're going to do here is you can start in the middle and you can draw a new shape in the middle, or you can go into these pieces here and draw a shape. So on my example here, I've got a large flower in the middle, but you could turn that into a sun. You could turn it into any shape that you could do the same thing all the way around. So I'm going to start with a circle in the middle, and I'm going to draw some rounded petals around. Now these petals could be pointy if you wanted them to be. So I want to make sure that this flower is in each of my 4 pieces. Now I'm going to make it a little bit different than this part over here. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to make some shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a circle, or you could put any shape, in the middle of each of these pieces. And you want it to be about the same size. This lesson has a lot to do with repetition. Repetition means repeating. If it's not perfect, it's okay, but we want it to be the same shape. We don't want some circles and some ovals. That's pretty close. So now that I've got one in each piece, making sure that everybody gets one, I'm going to move on to my next ring. So I've got my middle ring with a flower in the middle. I've got 4 circles and 4 pieces. Now I'm going to go up to this ring. Now this would be a good space for you to explore maybe some of the lines we studied in class. So you could do a zigzag line, you could do a spiral. In this example, I've got a spiral in my second ring. You could do cloud shapes, you could do hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a curly line, a loop-de-loop. And I'm going to go all the way around. Now you don't necessarily need to count the loops, but you want to try to use your eye to make them about the same size. And if it's easier for you, you can rotate this as you draw. Mrs. Marple has a lot of experience drawing upside down, so it's not a problem for me, but it's a lot easier for you to probably turn your paper as you're working on it. Okay, so now I've got my loop-de-loop line going all the way around. So everybody, when they get a piece of this pie or pizza, everybody gets part of that loop-de-loop. So now we're done with the middle, and we've gone to the outside, and now we can come back out to this third ring, okay? So I want you to think about another shape. So we've done circles for this shape, so maybe let's try something different than a circle. Maybe you want to do a triangle. Maybe you want to do rectangles. But this time I want you to try to make sure that you have the same amount in each piece. It's not like a line, so we want to try to have the same amount. So let's do triangles. So what I'm going to do first is I think I can fit 3 triangles in each piece around the sides. So I'm going to start with the middle. So I'm going to do 1 triangle. And then I'm gonna draw a triangle on each side so I can try to evenly space them. I want my pizza to be balanced, okay? So now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna repeat that same step over here. I'm gonna do my middle triangle, and if it helps you, you can do your middle triangle all the way around first, and then go back and add 2 more. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so it's still looking the same all the way around. My balance is still working. I know that everyone's gonna get a piece of that triangle. So let's go back out to the next ring. So you can either decide to do a shape, a line. You could choose to do both. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a combination of shapes and lines. So I'm gonna do, let's see, I'm gonna do squares. I'm gonna do square, dot, or dash, 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 square, dash, 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 square. Okay, so I'm using pattern now. So you could use pattern way down here if you wanted to, but now I'm going to use a line segment, and I'm going to use a shape. And so would I come over here and start with hearts? Would that make that balanced? No, no, no. We got to do the same thing to create that balance. So it starts with a square, dash, 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 square, dash, 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 square. And I'm gonna go all the way around with that pattern. Now, every time you hit a line, your pattern starts again. So I wouldn't continue with dash, dash, dash right here, because then it wouldn't be balanced with every other piece. So I now have an equally balanced mandala here. And so what I want to do now is maybe you want to go back in there and you want to maybe add some patterns or colors to your pieces, or you could just go over this in pen or Sharpie. You can also add something decorative around the outside, remembering that you want to keep it equal. So if you wanted to add like an extra line out here, you could do that, or shapes, but you want to make sure that they're equal in each of these 4 quarters, these pieces here. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna repeat the same shape that I did in the center of my concentric circles here with the flower shape. And so I'm gonna draw these curved lines all the way around because I think it'll really make my mandala look nice. And because it's a line and not individual shapes, I'm not gonna worry about counting them as I go around the circumference, the area all the way around my circle. But I want to make sure that they go all the way over to meet the other side. And if some of them are a little bit smaller than the others, that's okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to go over this with Sharpie, and I can erase spaces that I don't like or add more, and then I can color it. Okay guys, so we are back. I am now ready to show those of you who are ready to work on something maybe a little bit more complicated than our first version. I'm here to show you what you can do to add a level of difficulty to this. So you're going to start the same way. You want to do your circles, but you're going to want to add a couple more circles to this. So just like the first step, I'm going to do some tracing, and then I will show you how to start from there. So I'm going to grab a couple more circle tracers to add to this, remembering to have a variety of sizes. Okay, so I have traced the beginning of my mandala using pencil, and I use some extra, I use plates and bowls and things like that to add a couple extra circles to my base for this project. And so this is the way you're always going to start. Even if they're freehand circles, when you're just doodling on paper, you want to start with the circles first. And because I'm adding an extra level of difficulty, I've added more rings to it. You can tell on this one we had the 1, 2, 3, 4 that we actually traced. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can even go more than that. There are some pretty extreme mandala examples on Pinterest that you can look at with the videos, time-lapse, that take a long time to do. So we're not going to go crazy with it. I just wanted to show you the next step. So I've got my circles. Now we're going to start again the same way we started our younger example with the belly button. Find your center, make a mark, and then we're going to do a horizontal and a vertical line. Now I'm going to draw mine a little bit darker just so you can see. You'll want your marks light because you're not going to trace over these. You're going to want to probably erase these at the end. So that was where we stopped with the younger example. More advanced, more lines. So now you're going to do diagonal. Rotating your paper makes it a lot easier. And we want to make sure that these are equal. Remembering radial symmetry means balance. Everybody wants an equal piece of the pie. So we got to be careful with our lines. Now, if you make mistakes, please go back and erase them. It makes things so much easier for you. This one is slightly more advanced. You can add more spokes. If this was a wheel of a bicycle, think of these as spokes on your bicycle. The more lines you add, the more rings you add, the more complicated your design. If I start to get too small, it becomes a little harder for you guys to see. So I'm going to stop right here. Now, on the inside shape, remember you want it to be something that you can continue around the outside. And a lot of mandalas start with either a circle in the middle or a dot or maybe a flower. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to make a large dot in my concentric circle rings here, and then I'm going to maybe add a petal. Now you want your petals to be the same around the spokes, so you can either extend it to this next ring, you can keep them about halfway. Whatever you do, you might want to make a little mark. So on this one, I'm going to have my petals come about halfway up my spoke around each side. So just putting this mark here tells me not to go too high or too low. So now I'm ready to draw my petals. So I can either come from the middle here and go up, or I can go from each side like this. So I need to decide that pretty quickly. I think I'm going to go with this one here. I'm going to go all the way around. I'm trying to keep it consistent. And if I make mistakes, I want to try to erase them. So like right in there, I want to erase that little loop. So I have my first line. Now, maybe I want to stay with my flower motif or my pattern here, and maybe I can add some leaves. So I want my leaves to be equal, just like I want my petals to be equal. So however long I want my leaves to be, I want to make it consistent around the outside. So I want my leaves to go maybe to here this time on the next wheel. And you don't have to do one on every single one, but you might do every other one to make a pattern. So I'm going to have my leaves going all the way around. And this is going to be easier for you to rotate as you draw. I'm going to try to keep mine still for you guys so it's easier for you to see. And what we're working on with this is repetition. So doing the same thing over and over again. And it's calming. If you enjoy drawing, this is a great relaxing activity, kind of like Zen tangle, where it's you repeating the same thing. It's not a whole lot of like, once you come up with an idea, you can take it and repeat it for as long as you like. You could do this exact same thing over and over and over and have it just get larger instead of actually changing anything about it. But I want to show you how to do a variety of things, so we are going to change a couple of things. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to extend beyond just one single ring and keep your balance. So now we're going to go let's go 2 rings out instead of just up to this one. Let's go all the way up here. So now I'm going to do maybe I'll do a spiky piece, kind of like a sun ray. So I'm going to go from each of these points right here, and I'm going to go up to my second line here. Okay, and so now I can use my ruler if I want to. So I am now going right in between the petal here. I know it's going to be balanced. Same thing here. I'm going to go straight up this line, go from leaf to leaf, And I'm going to go all the way around, same way. And you can freehand this, or you can use a ruler. Obviously a ruler would be nicer and straighter. So I'm going to finish this up and then I'll meet you back in just a second. Okay, so now I have finished those pointy parts. They look like sun rays. I'm really pretty happy with this. I like it. And all of these lines in here, I'm going to end up erasing these so you can see what that looks like later. But we're going to leave them right now because it's important to know how these are balanced out, because you could always add lines or details in here further on after you're done with everything. So I have a few shapes here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill them in with some decorative lines. I can go all the way back down to this spoke if I want to, or I can just start adding from where my last piece is. Okay, so now that I've got my spiky parts done, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add some simple lines and designs to kind of fill up these empty spaces. Lines is probably going to be the easiest for you to do, but when it comes time to color, adding large areas of dark versus light to kind of keep it balanced is a great way to make this look a little bit more finished. So I'm making sure that there's 3 lines in each of these. If you're doing more complicated patterns, you don't really have to count how many are in each of these. So now I'm going to do some zigzag lines. And because this pattern is a little bit smaller, I don't have to count each zig and zag. Rotating as I go. Okay, and then you can also add things maybe to the top instead of just on the bottom or in the middle of the piece. So I'll do another zigzag around the top. Okay, so so far all of my pieces are looking very similar, very balanced right now. And so I can add lots of different things to these extra rings. I'm going to show you, this is another example that I did using the larger pieces to fill some of these spokes in. You can see that I extended 3 here. I also went ahead and colored some larger areas in with the Sharpie so you can see the contrast. And then as I worked my way in, I added some more intricate patterns and some closer lines. And then I can, right here you can see how I'm starting to add my pattern around and what it looks like before I add those patterns, until eventually you get something that goes out to all of the sections of your mandala. At this point on mine, I would go back and I would erase any of these guidelines, any of the lines that you drew with the ruler that you're not wanting to keep. I always erase those later, and I want to make sure that I'm really gentle when I erase, because after all of this hard work that you've done, you would really, really be sad to tear something. Even though you could fix it, you want to just try to be real careful with these because they are very tedious and time consuming, and you want to have a really nice end product when you're done with these. These look great in black and white, or in black and blue, or in red. So you can just use one color, making it a monochromatic, or you can add these with lots of different colors like I started to do here with the younger version. So I'm going to finish up erasing one of mine. I'll probably finish up a couple more, and I'll have a picture at the end of what these look like finished. Don't forget, we've got the printable patterns that you can print out for maybe a planning stage, or for my younger friends or anyone who doesn't have circle things to trace. You can just draw directly on here. The only thing is that the lines are pretty dark, so you're not going to be able to erase any of these. But you can always cut out the circle when you're done, and it can look like it was just part of your design in the first place. I hope you guys had a lot of fun with this. Give it a try. If it doesn't come easy, try it again, or you could do another drawing project this week. You could go to the drawing consequences that I have linked on this week's page as well. So enjoy your art time, and I'll see you next week. Okay guys, so I have gone back and outlined my mandalas in Sharpie, and then I colored them. So I wanted you guys to see what that looks like. This is the smaller example, or the one for the younger kids. And when I was coloring this, I accidentally got kind of carried away and started to add extra patterns in here. But yours can be much more simple than this. So you can see how the outside 3 rings, these are very simple. I just picked a couple of colors. Remember, using white in your design is perfectly fine as long as it's kind of balanced. You don't want a ton of white if you're using a bunch of some colors in here too, but white can definitely be part of your design. So what I was going to do is I was going to show you how you can take it up a notch on here. So on my more simple areas, you can easily go back with another color or a darker color and add different things like lines or stripes into these existing patterns after the fact. So you can be done and you can come back and work on it and just continue to add things to your piece. Okay, so that's another pattern inside of my curved line right there. And then let's go in and maybe do something else in maybe my triangle area. I can do stripes, or I can do another shape. So maybe I want to do circles inside of my triangles. But the details don't have to come all at once. So you can do just the basic shapes and lines and coloring and leave it like that, or you can go in and add more detail to your piece. Okay, so those are just some suggestions. Obviously, you get to choose whatever you like to do on this. And then the same thing over here on my more advanced version. I'm gonna kind of zoom in so you guys can see. So I took my time on this one. I haven't finished it yet. You can see that I've got some dots going on in here that I'm gonna fill in all the way around, so that's gonna be pretty time consuming. But if you enjoy art, I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this. So it's really up to you how far you wanna take it. I haven't colored the outside portion yet, and I was gonna show you again how you can go back in after the fact to add some extra details on this. So I'm gonna go into my red shape here, and I can add some extra rainbow lines maybe. And then if I want to maybe add some extra contrast, I can go in here and maybe color in some portions and leave some the red. I could go up here into my green pieces and color in maybe some of those. Here, I'm just gonna add another shape up in here. So you would wanna do the same thing around, remembering to keep it balanced and consistent. But it's nice that you can continue to add things to this project. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am going to probably finish this on my own. This might actually be the cover to my altered book that we started making, just because I like it so much, and I do like it in just the black and white. So you could color it, or you can leave it black and white or black and red or whatever kind of pen you chose to draw in, and it will look just as great. So I will see you guys again next week. I hope you enjoyed drawing and continue to do some more of your own drawings at home. Even if it's not our project, the important thing is to keep up your practicing and using your imagination to come up with new pieces. So remember, if you are struggling with any of the assignments I give you, just open a sketchbook, get a piece of paper, and just draw the first thing that comes to your mind. Go outside and draw. Draw a portrait of your pet, a portrait of your family. Find something to keep yourself busy and creating all the time. Okay guys, I'll see you next week.